Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, beautiful beings. Good morning, wake up family. Thank you for joining. It is the top of the hour, and today is day 716. Good morning. Thank you for waking up early and being here for this conversation, for this communal and collective conversation. I welcome anyone listening and watching from Facebook. And welcome to those in the Zoom room. Good morning, Mbimbola. Good morning,
Peace
John
and blessings.
Carl. Peace and blessings. Good morning, Z. Welcome to everyone. So to our family members that are joining us from Facebook, please let us know in the comments that you're listening. Say good morning, say hey, hello. Let us know that you're listening. And then while we wait to get started, if everybody could activate the chat in the comments and tell us where you're listening from. So my name is Nijah, and I'm super excited to be here to lead this conversation that we're all going to be in around the currency of time. And I am coming to you live from the state of North Carolina. I'm right outside of the city of Charlotte. Where are you calling in or joining us from today, John Carl? Let us know in the chat. Excuse me. Family on Facebook, please let us know in the comments where you're listening from as we wait to get started. All right, Mbimbola. I lived in Jonesboro for a time. Thanks for sharing. So welcome again, everyone, to Woo. Welcome to today's conversation. And while we continue to give folks time before we get started, get settled in. You don't need anything to be in this conversation unless there's something that gives you comfort. So if that's water, a blanket, a pillow, a glass or a cup of tea, whatever you need to be comfortable, go ahead and grab it.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
Good morning and welcome again, everybody. Welcome, Woo Nation. Thank you for coming into this conversation. Thank you for joining me here early this morning for the currency of time. You do not need anything to take part in this conversation, just yourself, just your mindset, just your voice, because this is going to be a conversation. All right. It's been a minute since I have been here in the Woo space as a facilitator. My name is Nijah Wilson, and I wanted to talk about the currency of life, which isn't money, it's time. And so before we get into it, I want to say or disclaim that I am not an expert in time. I'm not an expert in time management. Neither have I mastered this concept that we talk about and think about called time. And if I'm honest, I can say that I'm still figuring time out. Sometimes it evades me. Sometimes it stresses me. So I'm still figuring out the concept called time. So I say all that to say I have a lot of questions around this topic and some answers, but I think that overall, this is a discussion that we can all be in because no matter what our level of mastery with time is, we all have time. And because time is the currency of life, everybody gets time. And that time can be mastered, it can be saved, spent, um, it can be managed well, or none of those things. But the one thing that we know that we can agree on is that we all have time. Now, some of us have more time than others in the length of our lives or in the experiences over the course of our lives. But again, we all have time. So when I initially started to think about this session and plan this session, I thought I would talk about ways that we could do more with the time that we had. I thought I might talk about how we could make the most of our time. But as I thought more about it and planned more for the conversation, I began to think about how we keep time in our society and how we mark time. And it led me to begin to ask the question, are we ever really on time? Despite all the keeping of time and the marking of time and the measurement of time, are we on time? So yesterday I took a trip to Greensboro, and Greensboro is about 80 minutes from where I live. And throughout my trip, I found myself checking and rechecking the time. I started to calculate the time it would take for me to get to my destination, and then the time that it would take for me to do all that I had planned. Then I started calculating in my mind the time that it would take for me to return back home. And I asked myself during all of this, is it going to be enough time? Am I going to be on time? So, the universe is a funny thing. So, as the universe would have it, because in today's session, I'm talking about time, my daughter, during the course of yesterday, asked me so many questions, and they all had to do with time. And I was like, damn it, what's happening here? So, some of the questions that she asked me was, will you be back in time? She asked me, are you ready? She sent me a couple of texts and she said, is it time to go? Is it time for you to leave? What she even asked me what time it is, which is odd because we have so many devices that tell us the time, and she has access to many of them. And we'll get into that in a moment. But her concern was about me getting her to someplace that she had to be and her getting there on time. She's a teenager. She had a party to go to, and she wanted to make sure that she was going to be on time. And then also, as I was moving about yesterday, I noticed that in the conversation that I had with my son, I was also talking a lot about time. So we were talking throughout the course of the day, and I asked him, a series of questions. A few of them were, how long has it been since you've not been feeling good? I asked him what time he goes to bed. I also asked him, are you getting to your class on time? And my concern was around him and him not feeling well. He had not been feeling well for a little while. And it seemed like a long time to me. So I was concerned about that, but I was also concerned about him not being tardy or being absent from class. So let's hear some voices from the community and tell me if I'm the only one that has a conversation with myself around time or has conversations with others that involve time, either directly or indirectly. So if there's someone
Well,
in the Facebook community that wants to share in the comments, and I think I heard a voice here in the Zoom room, so go ahead and share.
oh no, I apologize. I just came on. That was my voice. Grace and peace, sister and community. Ooh,
Good
let me turn.
morning, sweetness. Well, sweetness, first of all, we're talking about time and you are on time because I just asked the community if they find themselves thinking about time, if they find themselves in conversations with others around time, either directly or indirectly. So tell us if you have do you have conversations with yourself about time? Do you think about time?
Oh my goodness. I just rose from slumber, and I just had a dream about a long time ago with somebody, and I was thinking that they were leaving the planet, and so I woke up in that state of time.
Mm,
And then
mm,
my mom is here, and she's moving around on a walker, so I was trying to get myself together to get up to go make sure she don't fall and stuff. And
okay.
then my son didn't come home last night, and so I was getting ready to be sad and low vibrational about him being out all night playing poker, right? And I was like, how could somebody sit all that time and do that? And then as soon as I started to, I said I can't wake up in that state. That's what I was saying. It's like I can't wake up in that state. I can't start my day. I don't want to start my day like that. So I was getting ready to go inside, of me and to start in high vibration. So I was getting ready to say that prayer we learned the other day about being thankful for what has been and being thankful for what is and being thankful for what is to come. And in regards to time, there's some time that I don't remember. That things happen and I don't remember them at certain times of my life. I'm realizing that. And so that is a little upsetting. It takes me back a little bit when someone tells me that something happened and I was present, but I don't remember that time. Um, yeah, yeah, that's where I interject with everything. I did not know the mic was off. I'm just trying to get it together. So that's where I am with time.
Yeah.
I'm appreciating.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being on time. And thank you for sharing with us the many ways that you consider time throughout your day. You brought in the past, the present, and the future, which are all parts of time. And you even touched on the amount of time that your son stays out playing poker and doing, and engaging in activities. And it's time that you don't understand.
Right.
So all of that is part of this conversation. So I thank you for your share.
Oh, I'm
And I'm
glad it's
glad,
part of it.
yes, yes. And I'm glad that you came in at the time that you did and you woke up at the time that you did so you can check on your mother as well.
Oh yeah,
So
let me go do that. Okay.
All right. So I see we have a hand raised, and then we can see if there's anything in the chat. So, Mbimbola.
Yes, peace and blessings. Um,
Mm.
when you talk about time, I am a stickler for time, being on time. And I've had to change my attitude in terms of how other people view time, and it's not a priority for them. And so sometimes I would get frustrated, because it's like, why, people don't feel this way. But then when you were talking, it took me back to when I was being raised, growing up, my mother. And my mother passed away when she was 99, 8 months and 15 days old. And she had wise sayings. And so she embedded in my sisters and brothers. And she would always say, early bird catches the worm. And so with me, I like to be on time. I would rather be early waiting than stressing out trying to get there, because there's always some sort of variables that come into play that's beyond your control. I mean, a perfect example was yesterday. Yesterday, we had a memorial program to attend, and a friend of mine, she had to drive 2 hours to my house, and then we had like a half an hour journey. But I insisted that she get here early enough because I didn't know what was going to happen, and I wanted to get there on time. So, a perfect example, we left here before 10 o'clock. Now, she was supposed to be here at 9:30, but she got here before 10, about quarter to. And we got there after 10 to the venue, but we had to find parking. And we found parking, and then we came out the parking lot and we got lost. And although we left out in plenty of time, we got there just at 11 o'clock. The family was coming in, but I knew I wasn't stressed because I knew I had left enough time. But I'm just saying that my mind, I feel good because I like to plan my day and leave early enough so if something happens, I'm there. So thank you for this conversation. Time is important to me, and like I said, I have a daughter, and she don't care about time. So but I've had to change the way I look at it, and that's me. And I'll let them do their thing. And I'm
Right.
complete. Thank you.
Thank you. And I love that we're having this conversation at this time. I spent a lot of time preparing for today's session, right? And so, I was like, oh, we're going to hit this, we're going to hit this. And we went right to something that I had planned to do later in the discussion. But I thank you for bringing it up now. And you know the time is right. The time is right to have the conversation now instead of putting it off to another time. So I love when you talked about having an understanding of time and your own personal feeling around time, the way that you interpret excuse me, the way that you interpret time and the meaning that you give to it. You talk about you liking to be on time. And I remember as a child, we would always be racing on two wheels. Whenever we had to go somewhere as a family, we had to be there at 8. We were leaving the door minutes to 8, knowing that it took us 30 minutes to get there. And I say we, I'm talking about my family, my parents and my brother and I. And of course, my brother and I didn't have control of that. My parents did. My father was a stickler for, like, it was almost like it was a race. Um, So we would never be on time anywhere. And I always, as a child, I was like, why do we always have to rush? Why can't we leave in enough time? I spent a lot of time, and we're going to use that word a lot today. I spent a lot of time, and I still do work in corporate America, in corporate spaces. And in corporate spaces, meetings start on time. There are deadlines, there are schedules. And all of this is around productivity, of course, but it's very important in that space to be on time. So when you're not on time, it's time, you can expect that there will be a time when you will be reprimanded for not being on time. In other spaces, being late is also considered to be out of integrity. I think about the tree space where we talk about being on time and being in integrity with one another. Being late is also in some spaces considered to be rude, or it's a sign that you don't manage your time well. So there are lots of meanings that we give to time, and things that we say about time. Some of the things that we say about time, I mean, Bola, you mentioned one. Um, oh gosh, it's escaping me now, but you mentioned one of the idioms about time, and I know that I have heard, and I wonder if the community has heard about the race against time, or folks are having a hard time. I have a college student, it's his first year, and he's having a rough time. I've heard about give it time. If you're waiting for something to take place or you're waiting for something to happen, you will hear folks say to you, give it time. There's also an idiom called just in time. And I find myself using a just in time method sometimes around work. Um, a lot of times I'll be working on a project and I'll need to know how to do something, but I have so many other things that I'm managing that just before I get to that place in the projects, I will look up, or refer to the guidelines around whatever it is I'm going to work on next. So that's in a lot of spaces called a just-in-time management tool. There's also too much time or time of my life, one at a time, one day at a time. You've heard people talk about being on time or crunch time or game time. Who else may have heard of something that speaks to time, another idiom or another phrase or saying around time that maybe I haven't mentioned, that you've heard, that you maybe have lived your life by, or you were taught? John Carl, is there anything out there in the community?
Yes, we have a comment in the chat that came from a fellow admin Z who said the early bird gets the worm. And as
Yes.
I think about it, a phrase that I've heard that keeps me settled when I think about time is it's not about time, it's about time in. And that keeps me pretty settled, whether I'm late, whether I'm early, whatever the time of the situation is, I'm always looking for the time in, because that's what really matters to me. It's a time in for everything. And we have a hand raised from Catherine, and Catherine had just posted in the chat that at her grandmother's house, let's see, go up. She said, at my grandmother's house, she was never late. She was not late. And if you were at that house, you were not late. So Catherine, could you please share verbally, expand on that a bit for us?
Yeah,
Yes.
tell us how your grandmother made sure folks were not late.
Yeah, and she was such a sweet person. So I'm not sure. I guess you just listened to her and knew that that was the rule of the house. However, she just didn't. After listening to Mbola, I just remembered about my grandmother. She don't want to be late. She's not going to be late, and she didn't even drive. Everybody she had to be taken everywhere, but she wasn't late anywhere. And she made sure of that. And so I lived that for a little bit because we went over Granny's house a lot. And so when I got older, I was more like your house. Like my kids be at the door. We supposed to be there at 8 and we be at the door at 10 minutes to 8 and it take 30 minutes to get where we go. And so that was how, it was when I was, trying to navigate my children. However, now it's because I've done time, right? You could do time. So I've done time. And after coming home from doing time, I was like, nobody's going to waste my time but me. Right? That's where I'm at right now. If my time's going to be wasted, guess who's going to waste it? It's going to be me. However, my preference is to be on time. And then I've embraced whenever I get there, I'm on time. I don't label myself late because I know I've made every effort to get there the time that they say is going to be. And sometimes you have a place to go and they say it's going to start at 7:30. I get there at 7:27 and they don't start to 8 o'clock. So it's not for me to use my time for that 30 something minutes to complain that they didn't start. So that's where I'm at. Don't waste my time. I'll waste my own time. And when I get there, I'm on time. And I like to be respectful of other people's time. So if I'm having a date with somebody who's like my grandmother, I know the importance of it for them. Some people don't know the importance of it, for other people who want to be on time. But I know the importance of it for them. So that's where I am basically with time. And I avoid saying, I don't got time. Because I have right now. If I'm speaking, I have right now. So I always have time. And that's another thing that I put into some of my work I'm doing with Be the Tree is I make time to stand there and say, when I ask somebody how they're doing, just in the street, regular, people passing by, if I'm speaking to you, I wait. I take time to hear what their answer is. And with that, I'm complete.
I love that. There's so much juice in your share, Catherine. Thank you for that. And I wrote down, I have right now, so I have time. And I'm gonna use that because I get concerned about the time that I have. If I'm going somewhere, am I gonna be there on time? And then if I get there and I'm on time and others are not, like you mentioned, now I have to sit and wait on you. And so now I feel like you're wasting my time. But I want to go back to John Carl and what you said about it's not about time, it's about timing. And that's something else that I wrote down that I love, that I wish I had heard many, many years ago. I remember growing up, like I said, we would always be on two wheels. There are four wheels on a car. We'd be on two because we would be racing to get to wherever. And I've started doing that. So my daughter has activities and others have mentioned to me, we saw your car barreling down the road. And it's because we were not on time or we were trying to be there on time. One of the things that I have done to manipulate my father, if you will, is that now if we have to go somewhere, and we started doing this too when we were growing up, now that I remember, if we had to be somewhere at 8, we tell him we had to be there at 7. And we might be there on time, but we had to lie or be creative about how we were gonna get him to get us to places on time, because growing up he was the driver. So all this is wonderful and part of what I had planned for this conversation. Before I move forward, I want to make time to see if there's anything else in the chat, to see if anyone else has any phrases about time that they grew up listening to, or ones that they have begun to practice.
We have a comment in the chat from Aaliyah.
Okay.
And Aaliyah says, I have had a rebelliousness with time since a child, because one parent was about time and the other was free flow. I like the free flow, gee whiz. However, Be the Tree opened me up to thinking about time differently. When it was attached to integrity, I was like, oh boy, I don't want to be out of integrity. And since then, I've intentionally aimed to do better with my time. Still working though, but I'm more aware. And
Love that. Love that. Thank you for that share. You know, we have to, or rather, we choose to, or we can choose to be aware and have increased self-awareness around time. Because, you know, like I said earlier, in some spaces, it's okay to be less timely. You know, in cultures, it's okay to arrive to a party or family dinner 15 minutes after the time on the invite. I mentioned earlier that my daughter had a party to go to yesterday, last night, and she was so concerned with being on time, which is really not her nature. I guess she has learned from me and her grandparents that it's okay to roll up, you know, minutes before something starts or even minutes after it starts. But yesterday, because of where she was going and, you know, her friends were also going to be there, she wanted to be on time. So she was really, really pressing me about being on time. And I was like, who shows up to a party on time? The invite says 6, but you got easily 30 minutes before you need to be there, before anything really pops off, jumps off, you know, before the party gets started. But she was concerned about being on time. So we know that in certain spaces, being on time um, is is required or is the norm. But then there are also times when it's okay to be a little tardy to the party, if you will. So I want to move on because, you know, one of the questions that I had was, are we obsessed with time? And I would like for everybody to take a minute and look around in the space that you're in, whether you're home, you're at work, you're in someone else's home, or any other place, and identify the many tools that are in that space that tell time. So let's take a minute and look around and see what we have in reach that tells time. And then what I'd like support, John Carl. If you can pick 3 people, and I'd like for those 3 people to name 2 tools that they have in their space right now that tells time. And we can make this a little bit fun. So if you were called by John Carl to share, and the person before you mentioned a tool, don't mention that same tool.
wow, that's a tough one. Okay, I'm gonna start out with some tools that's being shared in the chat. These tools came from Aaliyah. Aaliyah said, yes, we are. And I'm not sure what that yes, we are is a response to yet. But I have 2 clocks in my bedroom, one in front of me and one in front of me and back.
Mm.
We count the cell phones, three clocks. So 2 clocks, 2 clocks, one in front, one in back, and a cell phone from Aaliyah.
Okay. All right.
Catherine's response is the sun, and Aaliyah says she's obsessed with time.
All right.
So, let's pick. Well, the comments are coming in the chat. So we have
All right.
who says she has a Fitbit watch and a Bose radio.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And so you want to call on, maybe we can call on one person who has not
Okay.
been active in the chat, and they can share with us something that tells time where they are.
Let's
Something
see.
that hasn't been mentioned.
I'm gonna call on Stacy. Stacy has been in this space for a little while since we started, and there's nothing to comment from Stacy. So Stacy, do you mind verbally sharing how much what do you have that records time in your space? You can come off mute if you can, and I'll give you a little bit of time to do that.
Which Stacy?
Share with us. You're off mute.
Which Stacy?
Who's talking?
This is Stacy Evans, but I know there's another Stacy, and I can't see if she's in here, so I didn't know which Stacy you were calling on.
Stacy, you are on time, sis. It's your time. What do you have in your space that isn't a clock, that isn't a cell phone, that isn't a Fitbit watch or radio?
You might
What do
be
you
able
have
to
that tells
hear
time?
it right now. It's my cat.
All
I
right.
always know